On the Mustangs Sports Network from Learfield, this is the Hilltop Hoop Show, presented by SMU Cox School of Business, with head coaches Andy Enfield and Toyelle Wilson. And now, live from Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue, here is your host, Rich Phillips.
Good evening. Welcome to another week of Hilltop Hoops here at Ozona Grill and Bar. I am Rich Phillips. Thanks to everybody coming out. Thanks to those of you joining us on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page as well. Of course, we'll have Andy Enfield up here in a few moments, talk about the men's team. But first, as we are every week at the start of the show, let's welcome in women's coach Toyelle Wilson. Hello.
How are you?
I'm better than you, I'm afraid.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way we can talk about it any other way than yesterday. 72-59 loss at Pitt. Nothing other to say than that was a tough day at the gym for you, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know you told me you weren't going to ask, but I told you go ahead because I don't mind, you know.
How do you lose a 32-point lead?
Yeah, it's the same way you get a 32-point lead. You make shots. But, no, I think, you know, we had a different type of mindset in the first half. Followed the game plan, executed the game plan. You hit shots. Different people hit 10 threes in the first half. And do the total opposite in the second half. And, you know, I don't know if the girls, I told them at halftime, you know, you don't get a W for a half, and you and that team's not going to stop fighting and stop believing in themselves, and they're not going to give up. You know, those are the last two things I said to them. So you got to learn it. It's a learning lesson, grow from it. And then you got to move on. You know, we'll watch it tomorrow. They're going to have to – we've already watched it as a staff. I watched it on the plane ride back. So it'll be the third time I've watched it with the team tomorrow. So, you know, we got to just execute better. We can't just rely on one person to score. But we didn't do it in the first half. Everybody scored. Every single person that could play played. Ella and Shantae were out, obviously. But – you know, you get that lead by being confident, by pushing the ball, having pace, and hitting shots. And so when you don't hit shots and do the total opposite, turn the ball over, don't defend, because at the end of the day, you know, they scored, I think, 28 points in that third quarter, and we scored 47, 48 in the half. And you got to score the bucket. You got to put the ball in the hoop in order to win a game. And they didn't do that in the first half, and they did that the second half. Same thing. We didn't do it in the second half.
I mean, the first half, it was 32-7 after one, 49-18 at half. Did you have any inkling that something could go so wrong for you?
No, of course not. No, but, you know, we had 5 empty possessions, called the timeout, and tried to get them to regroup. And, you know, you get the crowd, all you need is 1 or 2 buckets to go in, and you get the crowd into it. Their crowd got into it. They got confident. The rim looks like the ocean then. And then you can't, you know, turn the ball over and give like 3 or 4 and ones in a quarter. So they have to grow. They have to learn from it. We have to grow. We have to learn from it and do things better and move on.
How'd you address it with the team in postgame?
Yeah, same thing. You know, the biggest thing is the disappointment where our, you know, the leadership lack thereof. And we have to do a lot of things better, but being able to respond to adversity and not crumble and not just let, you know, 4 or 5 empty possessions turn into a whole quarter.
Have you ever, at any other point, as an assistant or as a player, been involved in anything that went with this big of a wild swing?
No. And hopefully that's the only time that ever happens.
You said you'll watch it with the team tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which are you focusing on more, the good or the bad?
The third and fourth quarter.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we always show the things that we work on. We have a Mustang sheet. We have a rebounding. We look at our defensive rebounding. And then we always look at things in the game, the things we can improve on and the things we did well. But I don't know how long the third and fourth quarter is going to take. But, you know, we always show things that we do well also. You
mentioned injuries. Shantae Embry, she missed the last 2. Ella Brow out yesterday. How much is that affecting things for you?
I mean, you get 1 less scorer, 2 less scorers, a rebounder, somebody that can come in for a sub, that can give somebody a break. There's a lot of things that those two can do. And, you know, we need every single person on our team. And so, but again, we had a 30-point lead without them. So, but it hits you, you know, different when you're facing adversity. You need a sub or foul trouble or things like that.
All right. Well, it hasn't all been bad of late. Let's go back to the first game. You had a 2-game road trip that you went on. The first game up at Syracuse Thursday. It was an early game, too, 10:30 up there. That had to be weird to get playing that early, and then I know they did it because it was one of those middle school games, I guess.
Yeah,
and then they didn't make it out because of the weather.
Right. When I got interviewed for the game before, they were asking me, well, how have you prepared for 10,000 kids, screaming kids in the stands? And I said, we had an education game too.
Yeah.
But like one of my coaches said, like we practice in the morning, so we practice 9 to 11:30. So the 10:30 game was right down our alley, and we were used to playing early, and so. The biggest thing I was proud of, I guess that was one of the highest highs, and the end of the trip was the lowest of the lows, but being able to win a game in overtime and clutch shots, I'm sure the Syracuse coach felt the same way I felt, with our second game. Well, I don't know about that much, but, just having that high of, winning at one point and then you lose. So, but kudos to our players, definitely. I thought we had the game. We had the last shot in end of the fourth quarter in regulation and overtime. And so just great, exceptional attention to detail, execution, defense, all the things. They did really well for 40 minutes.
72-71 overtime win it was at Syracuse. Boy, Nia Robertson, another huge game for you, 28, and critical buckets for you too, obviously, in that one.
Yeah, for sure. She likes to have the ball in her hands late. I thought Z had a great game. TK had a good game. Sandra came in and had unbelievable minutes. So, it was a great feeling leaving, Syracuse with a game that we knew was going to be a tough team that went to the, I think, Sweet 16 or round of 32 last year. And so they're a storied program, and Coach Jack has done a great job in her 3 years there. So it was a great win for us.
Yeah, you mentioned Sandra Magalico. Of course, that was your first game without Shante to the injury. She comes off the bench, 9 points, 8 rebounds. Tell us about her play that day.
Yeah, we just needed some points. I think Jess got in foul trouble, and we wanted to get different looks for their post player. And so Sandra came in and played really good defense and rebounded the ball and was able to finish around the rim. And that's what we need her to do. And what we brought her here to do is to get those 9 points and 8 rebounds. So we were really proud of her.
Close game. It was back and forth all the way through. Fun game for you to coach into when they're like that?
Yeah, it was fun. I almost wish that was the Pitt game was closer, so we didn't have that relaxed feeling. But it's a great road games in the ACC are really hard to come by. So our goal is always to go 2-0 on the road and to compete and to play 40 minutes. And I think that's what we didn't do against Pitt. We played 2 quarters, 20 minutes, and that's where the growth and the leadership has to come out. On the floor, because at the end of the day, us coaches can't put the ball in the rim, in the hoop for us. And, also on the defense, and you got to stay locked into the game plan for 40 minutes.
Our segment each week with Coach Wilson is brought to you by Ozona Grill and Bar on Greenville Avenue with the best patio in town and happy hour from 4 to 7 every Sunday through Friday. Specials including free chips and salsa. Ozona Grill and Bar, find your comfort zone. We haven't done a show since December 30th, so we got one other one I wanted to revisit with you, too. A big start to the new year for you and the girls with a 67-63 win over Stanford back on January 2nd. First ACC win in program history. Has to be great to do it against one of the storied programs in women's basketball history, too.
Yeah, for sure. Our girls were excited to have our first game at home against the ACC team, and they really had a lot of energy, and their effort was amazing. Attention to detail was amazing, and so that was a great win for our program.
Nia scored 21. By the way, she's one of 3 players in the ACC to have 20 points at least 10 times already this season. You knew you were getting a scorer here when you brought her in. Did you know you were getting this much of a scorer when you brought her in this year?
Yeah, we knew she could score the ball with anybody, She shot a lot of shots at GW. I don't think that she saw a bad shot there. But she was able to take a lot of shots, volume shots, and now she's learning here, like, how to take shots, time, score, situation, when you make a 3, when you make a couple, not settling. So she's learning that as she's going. She's getting a lot better. She almost shot 50% from the field at Stanford, from Syracuse. And so she's really locking in onto how she can play with other players on our team, and knowing she has support and help that can help her. But she wants the game. She wants the ball at the end of the games. She's a competitor. She's a dog, and that's what we need more of on our team.
She looks cold-blooded to me sometimes.
Yeah, when she's locked in and she's scoring. Even the game yesterday, we were just like, everybody, whatever they were putting up was going in, and they were sharing the ball. I think we had 10 assists on 13 field goals, or And so it was really nice to see. And if we can play like that for 40 minutes, we'll be a lot more successful.
And also in that Stanford game, Jessica Peterson with 16 rebounds. She currently leads the ACC and is third in the nation at 12.1 rebounds per game. That's a good sign of hard work there to be leading and rebounding like that.
Yeah, for sure. I've always told you, I tell John Henry all the time, rebounding is a skill. It's a want-to. It's a will-to. It's a mentality. You got to like physicality. So that's an art, a lost art, especially, in the female game. But, Jess likes all the smoke, and she likes to get in there and bang, and she doesn't care who's in her way. She's going to try and get a rebound, and TK's the same way. But we got to get a collective, effort, especially offensively. If the shots aren't going in, that's kind of things we could have done to help our momentum is, rebound down and get some extra opportunities when we're not hitting.
Big week for you this week. It'll start off Thursday night with 14th ranked North Carolina at Moody Coliseum. That's at 7 o'clock. It's on the ACC NX as well as on the SMU app with John Hendry. They're 15-3, 3-2 in the league. This is the best defensive team in the league, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, North Carolina, they're actually really good on both ends, but they run a lot of stuff. They have a lot of ammo, a lot of firepower. But again, I always say to our kids, like, they got to come on our court, and they got to play with our fans and our hoops, and we got to come out and execute. Again, we got to pay attention to detail, know the scout, know the game plan, and execute that. There's nothing for us to lose, The pressure's on them, and so we got to come out and respond on how we ended the last game.
Yeah, they are first in the ACC in defensive field goal percentage, 3-point defensive field goal percentage, and in points against. And then they've got a couple double-digit scorers, both big up front, too. Alyssa Usby and Maria Gachting. Tell us about them.
Yeah, both unbelievable players. The post player, Gachting, I think that's how you say it. We were talking about it in the office. The coaches were like, we heard him in film saying, "God dang," that's her last name, y'all.
I know. I saw that today.
You said it real nice. I should say it like you.
Yeah.
But
I remember one of the pronouncers they had on their website, but I've seen that one too, and I thought, I'm glad I'm not broadcasting that.
I'll just say number 5. She actually started at Boston College for 2 years, so she's been at UNC, and she's a force inside. She can score either shoulders. We got to keep her out the paint. Usby's been with Courtney Banghart for a while, and she's really good, a great guard-like post player playing the 4. So we have to do our due diligence. But I mean, they got good other players, just not those two. So we got to come to play. Again, we'll start that game plan tomorrow. Watch our film, and then we'll start game plan against North Carolina.
And then Sunday you go to South Bend to play number 3 Notre Dame. They're 14-2, have won their last 9. I know you probably haven't scouted a lot about them, but surely you know a lot about Hannah Hidalgo, who is a National Player of the Year candidate for them. She's second in scoring in the country and in steals per game.
It's not just Hannah, though, but
yeah,
everybody knows Hannah, but Olivia Miles, Sonia Citron, West Belt is back. They got King that transferred from Pittsburgh. I mean, they got a lot of people. I haven't watched them, but I've watched them because I watch other games.
Sure.
So right now my mind's on UNC, really about us, and then UNC, and then Notre Dame. We're worried about them in a couple days. But, yeah, we got to go on the road. I played there when we were at Baylor. We played there at Michigan. So they're very hard to guard. I mean, but we're going to have to do what we got to do. We're going to be hard to guard, too. It's not going to just be a one-sided thing. They still have to guard us, too. So we got to come in there confident, again, with the same mentality of proving who we are, and then come out to play.
It's a tough week, but it's what we wanted, right, out of
Absolutely.
the ACC?
Absolutely. And I think our girls understand that we can compete with anyone. We did that against Florida State. We did that versus Syracuse on the road. And we did that for a half against Pitt. And we just got to believe in it. We got to do that and play 40 minutes of basketball.
All right. Well, it's Thursday night, 14th ranked North Carolina at Moody Coliseum at 7 o'clock. We look forward to that, and thank you,
Appreciate
Toyelle.
it. Thanks,
Thank
Rich.
you. Have a good one. That's
All right, you
Toyelle
too.
Wilson joining us here on Hilltop Hoops. We'll have men's coach Andy Enfield coming up next. Welcome back to Hilltop Hoops here, Monday nights, 7 o'clock at Ozona Grill and Barn on the SMU Mustangs Facebook page. If you want to support your favorite Mustangs, join SMU's official NIL partner, the Boulevard Collective. The Boulevard leverages NIL and the DFW community to develop excellence and leadership capabilities in SMU student athletes while supporting the missions of SMU and the SMU Athletic Department. Visit boulevardcollective.com to join and learn more. All right, now joining us up here on stage, let's hear for SMU men's basketball coach Andy Enfield.
Hello.
How are you?
Great.
Doing well after a bounce-back win Saturday afternoon at home against Georgia Tech, 93-71. Is that just the kind of game your guys needed after a tough previous week of games for them?
Yeah, our team played very well, especially in the first half against Georgia Tech. They're very dangerous offensively, and we played tremendous defense, got out to that big lead, and made some open shots.
Chuck Harris, you insert him into the starting lineup on Saturday, and he matches his season high with 21. He shot 7 of 11, 4 of 6 from 3. Is it a move that he kind of earned with the way he'd been playing for you all season?
Yeah, Chuck's been playing very well. Defensively, he's leading our team in points per possession the last few games, so he's solid defensively. He's been playing hard, and he's scoring the ball. So we felt confident that after not playing well as a team the previous week, that a change in the starting lineup might help us, and it did.
You know, that's something that you've been talking about, and your assistants I talked to as well, about Chuck's defensive play. And he's known so much as a shooter. It's what got him at Butler for a lot of years, and then to here last year. Is that something that's been maybe a different mentality set for him this year to really build on his defense?
Well, he has no choice. For us to be successful and for him to play a lot of minutes, he has to defend. And he's done a great job of buying in. He's really improved as a defender. He's improved his on-ball defense as well as off-the-ball defense, and so we're very impressed with him.
Maybe the best part of when you made that move Saturday is Johan Traore, who comes out of your starting lineup, goes for 13 points and 4 rebounds off the bench. You got to like to see a guy that didn't powder anything after that.
Yeah, Johan was terrific. He made 3 threes, 3 for 3 from the three-point line. His three-point percentage now up to 37%. So he's improved his perimeter shooting. He finished a couple shots around the rim and thought he gave us great energy off the bench.
In reality, how important is the starting lineup? I mean, all the guys play their minutes, right?
Yeah, our rotation, even when Chuck Harris was not starting, he was playing starters minutes.
Right.
So it's not a thing where we're looking at who's starting, who's not. It takes a team to win games, especially in a league as deep as the ACC. So all our players have to be ready to go.
I just have a sponsor read for the starters, so I have to know who they are. See, that makes it important for me. Let's see. You were led by 31 at half, up by as many as 37 early on in the second half, and then your statement to us on postgame Saturday was the guys kind of played to the score. Tell us what you meant by that.
Well, we took that big lead and then came out and extended the lead in the second half, and then we made some lackadaisical defense mistakes, didn't get back in transition 4 or 5 times, and that just didn't happen when the game was tighter. So it was disappointing in the moment. Obviously, when you win an ACC game by as much as we did, that means your team played pretty well. So we learned a few things from our team, and hopefully this week is really big, especially with transition defense and defense period.
Can you harp on your guys much about a situation like that when you still win by 22?
Yeah, we can always find something.
B.J. Edwards, a career-high 19 points and 6 steals, matched his season high of 6 assists, and he only turned the ball over 1 time. We've talked about him a lot already this season, a huge breakout year for him. Did you expect him to have this big of a breakout that he's having right now?
He had a terrific basketball game, 19 points, 6 assists, 6 steals. He was all over the place. He he made a couple of defensive mistakes in the second half like the rest of the guys, but for the most part he played an amazing game, and he's improved. It was a big bounce-back game for him as well as the rest of our team, coming off a couple tough games last week where we didn't play up to our capability, and I was really proud of BJ as a head coach, knowing that he gave it his all against Georgia Tech. It was important for him to play well.
Does his size, not just height, but just bulk and everything, does that give him a bit of an advantage against some guys out on the perimeter?
Well, I don't know what game you're looking at, but I wouldn't consider him bulky. But
stout? I don't know how
he's lean. He's lean and strong. How about
strong.
that?
He's strong. There
yeah,
you go.
He is strong. He's a lean body, strong, really good basketball body, with long arms, and his best attribute is anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
We had DeAnthony Melton at USC with 6'3" with a 6'8" wingspan. BJ's a lot like DeAnthony. They anticipate. BJ's leading the ACC in steals right now. He had 6 yesterday on Saturday. And D'Anthony led the NBA in steals per minute, I think, a couple years ago. So very, very similar players where their anticipation and their toughness makes a huge difference on the defensive end.
You've said it. He's one of your best defenders. What's next for him? What's his next development that you need to see?
Well, he has to keep getting better. His ball screen reads, his passing on the move, under pressure, his scoring ability. You know, you look at guys that have stayed in 4 years in college or 5. BJ is a typical guy that was talented coming in, needed some time to develop, find himself as a player, and keep improving. And he's done a great job of that. And he's only a junior, so he's got a ways to go.
All right, so you won Saturday, 93-71, but prior to that, 2 tough losses, first back-to-back losses of the year, 82-67 at North Carolina. Last Saturday, 89-62 to now number 3, Duke. Shooting kind of betrayed you a little bit in both those games, didn't it?
Yeah, we come off 2 really good shooting games, Boston College and Longwood, where we shot 60-some% from the field and the three-point line. The law of averages probably caught up to us, but we did it to ourselves. We were 11 for 25 from the foul line against Duke. That's embarrassing. It just should never happen in a college game. And unfortunately, it happened at our biggest game and sold-out crowd, and our guys just didn't have it. They tried, they just didn't have it.
The North Carolina game I felt was extra frustrating just because of the number of layups that didn't go down. Is that execution? Is it bad luck at some point?
Well, it's not bad luck. You got to make the shots, and we missed so many layups early on. We played them even in the second half. Probably outplayed them in the second half because we had a few things go against us that normally doesn't happen, but was a tie game in the second half. And but you can't miss 7 or 8 layups in the first half on the road at North Carolina. It's really hard to come back from that.
Fast break scoring in both of those games was down significantly for you. Was that some of your own doing or some of their doing?
Well, a little bit of both. You have to get defensive stops. Like we had 15 steals against Georgia Tech, and our transition offense looked great. So when you don't steal the ball, get deflections, you get stops. You have to. And we weren't playing. We were not playing our typical SMU offense against last week. We were more stagnant. The ball stuck a little too much. We didn't share it as much. So that was a big point of emphasis on Georgia Tech. We had 25 assists on Saturday, and that's more our style. We're leading the league in assists. We lead the league in scoring, and that has to happen. We're a better offensive team than we are a defensive team, and when that offense goes stagnant, sometimes it's hard for us.
Of course, Duke's one of the talks of the country in part because of one guy, Cooper Flagg, who, by the way, Conference Player of the Week and Freshman of the Week for the second consecutive week. All he did was score 42 on Saturday. That guy is as good as advertised, isn't he?
Well, he's a terrific player. He's worked hard to get to where he is. He's very skilled. He's tough, and he's a competitor. So we give him credit where credit is due. But he, to go out and score 42 as a freshman is pretty impressive.
Our segment each week with Coach Enfield is brought to you by the SMU Cox School of Business. Long-term career success begins at the SMU Cox School of Business with the number 27 full-time MBA in the nation. Our commitment to your success, new state-of-the-art facilities, and welcoming national network combined to help open doors here in Dallas and beyond. Learn more at smu.edu/Cox/Pony Express. So hello to Kevin Knox here with us tonight at Ozona. All right, you got a 2-game trip coming up this week. And the team's staying on the road as well. Wednesday night at Virginia, 8 o'clock on the ACC Network. Scott Garner and I will have it on the SMU app. And then Saturday at Miami, 1 o'clock on ESPNU. And, again, we're on the SMU app. It's one of 2 trips this year where you guys are going to stay out for 2 games. We'll do it with the Cal Stanford at the end of February. You've done plenty of this, though, right, when you were at USC? Wasn't this kind of the way of the Pac-12?
Yeah, the Pac-12 had travel partners, so we were partners with UCLA, and we would go and play the teams and stay for usually Thursday, Saturday, but when TV dictated, we would play Wednesday, Saturday, or Thursday, Sunday, and once in a while, Wednesday, Sunday. So we're used to that, usually a day between games, but in this case, there are 2 days between games. Now, the nice thing is Saturday's an afternoon game, and our players don't have class. So this will be an easier trip, especially when you're going to a warm weather climate like Miami. It'll be a little easier for our guys to get ready for that game.
Yeah, we end it the right way. Virginia wouldn't be the way to end it, I would think. It's a little chilly up there. How different is this? A lot of the players haven't done it. How different of a mindset is it for these guys with a 2-game road trip?
Well, usually the second game's a little more difficult because you're traveling and you've been on the road for a few days. Now, I do like the afternoon game. I think that helps the opposing team a little bit. You wake up, you get there and get it going instead of sitting around in a hotel for too long. But it is an adjustment when you, as I said, we can be outside in Miami the worst thing for, I think, college athletes and coaching staffs is to go and sit in a hotel for 2.5, 3 days and not play, and especially in the cold weather, you sit around, you get sluggish, and you just don't, your body doesn't feel right, and I think it is a disadvantage. So at least in Miami, we'll be able to get outside, walk around, and just act like it's a normal day.
Yeah, this 9 p.m. Eastern time, though, that's not fun. We did it last week, and we're doing it this week. That's not fun at the hotel, is it?
Yeah, like I said, you sit around all day, a 9 p.m. game, that's late. But our guys have to be right. We have to compete on Wednesday night.
You're also facing two teams this week who have gone through coaching changes this year. Of course, we already saw Virginia earlier this season. Tony Bennett stepping down in October after 15 seasons. Miami's Jim Larinaga stepping down just about 2 weeks ago in the midst of his 14th season. Now, both of them stated that they didn't really want to stay in the new world of college athletics, NIL, transfer portal. How much different is your job now than it was 5 or 10 years ago?
Well, it's different now than it was 2 years ago. So it's a new change for everybody. The transfer portal, the NIL. Once the ball is tipped, it's all the same. It's the same job as you've always had. You prepare your team, you go out and play and compete. So that's the easy part. The challenging part is that in this age of college sports, especially in the football and basketballs, that players can transfer every year. So it's hard to anticipate who you might have on next year's team. So what's happening is right now programs are worried about this year and this year only. And sure, you'd like guys to stay and develop and be part of your program so the fans could then get to know them. And that's the ideal situation. Unfortunately, it's not always ideal. And so our jobs as coaching staff, we become more like general managers where we have to – the only difference is there's no salary cap yet, and there's no long-term contracts like all the professional sports teams have. So at least in professional sports, you have guys under contract, players under contract, that you know that they're, hey, a 2-year deal, 3-year deal, 4-year deal, et cetera, and they can't leave unless you trade them or something else happens. So in college, everybody can just leave every year, and so it is very challenging to plan and anticipate what the future might look like in your program.
Do you feel like you're recruiting your program every day with your current roster?
No, we play to win games, and if you don't like it, you can always leave. So we're trying to win games every week. And the hardest part as coaches is we have 13 scholarship players on our roster and a couple non-scholarship players, and you love all of them as they're part of your team, your family. You love them all, but you can only play certain guys so many minutes because there's only 5 guys play at once, and you have 40 minutes per position, and so sometimes that rotation gets a little shorter, and the guys that you don't play, you feel terrible as a head coach, as a coaching staff. Not everybody can play the same amount of minutes. So that's the bad part about our job, and especially my job.
You mentioned how it's a year-to-year thing right now. Do you think that's something that will or should change, that there are contracts, for lack of a better term?
Well, April 7th is that big lawsuit with I'm not sure what the finality will be, but it looks like we're going towards revenue sharing with the universities, and so that'll change. It'll change the structure once again, and hopefully for the better.
The bottom line of it is, you have to embrace this system. Nothing ill of the guys that have stepped away because it's not what they wanted to do, but it's been a total mindset change, hasn't it, in the business?
Well, hey, you're only as good as your team and your players and your coaching staff, and especially your best players. Your better players have to play well in the big games because that's why they're called your best players. And so to get your best players, you have to go recruit them, and how you recruit them now has changed significantly. And so I think that's a different mindset, and it's a different way of going about business.
All right, let's look ahead here. Wednesday night, 8 o'clock at Virginia. You began ACC play this year with a 63-51 win over the Cavaliers at home last month. Held up without a field goal over the last 10 minutes of that game. Is that about the best defensive effort you've seen from your team this year?
Well, that in the first half on Saturday,
okay.
I would say that was pretty good too when he held them to 19 points. So I think Virginia is very hard to guard. They really take their time and very methodical, but they set a lot of screening action. They set a lot of down screens, back screens, ball screens, and so they're very methodical about how they go about their offense, and you have to be able to guard them for sometimes 15 seconds, but most of the time 22, 25, 28 seconds in a shot clock, and it kind of wears you out. You're running, chasing these guys all over the court. So our players did a terrific job in the second half to pull out that win early in December.
It was a game that obviously was played at their pace. I mean, you score 63 and win. Is it something where you didn't see what you wanted to try to break it out somewhere, or was it all what Virginia was able to do in that game?
Well, when you play a team that's slow on offense, it limits the possessions in the basketball game. So it also has a psychological effect sometimes on your transition and you're pushing the pace because you don't want to go down there and take a tough, bad shot or a quick shot and miss it and then have to guard. So your offense possession takes 4 or 5 seconds and you miss a shot, and then you have to go guard again for 28 seconds. So that's not fun. And so I think we have to work the ball to get the best shot possible on offense on Wednesday night. And if it's in the first 4 or 5 seconds like we like it to be, great. And we'll take that open shot, but it has to be an open, great shot.
And then the road trip does finish Saturday, 1 o'clock at Miami. They haven't played anybody on our schedule except for Boston College, and they played it after we played Boston College. So I'm suspecting you haven't seen a lot of Miami yet, have you?
I have not watched them one time. I know they had the coaching change. The interim coach, Bill Courtney, is an outstanding coach and a great guy. So we're looking forward to just getting through this Virginia game first and worry about Miami on Thursday.
I know when you go through scouting, and obviously you're doing your scouting right now in Virginia, you'll probably see them play some teams that we're going to play in the next few weeks. Do you even notice the other team very much, or are you so focused in on Virginia?
No, we're starting to now notice some other teams because we're seeing more game film and we have more league games to watch. So we've seen Virginia numerous times, and we just watched the Stanford-Virginia game from Saturday, so now we've seen Stanford. So, yeah, it's an advantage when you start getting into the season.
You leave the other teams to your staff right now, right?
Well, my staff is terrific. They spend a lot of time going over video. They have a limited number of scouts. They all have their own responsibility for teams, and I have all the scouts but I rely on them to give me all the information. And then we sit in a conference room together and we try to make our game plan.
I'm sure part of the reason you want to stay mostly focused just on Wednesday is you don't want to confuse yourself, right? Because I know me, I'll get confused if I start looking at Miami right now.
Well, I think every game's important. The assistant coach that has the Miami scout has already been doing the Miami video work and preparing. So as soon as that game's over Wednesday night, we'll get on the plane Thursday morning, fly to Miami, and on that plane ride, he'll sit next to me and we'll go through and he'll tell me everything about Miami. But every game is equally as important to us. One game doesn't define your year, so you have to take each one, I think, equally, weight them equally, and prepare like it's a national championship or a very important game like Wednesday is.
All right, well, it's Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, SMU at Virginia. Scott Garner and I will have that on the SMU app, and then Saturday, 1 o'clock at Miami. Andy, appreciate it. Good to talk to you once again tonight. And looking forward to a great road trip for the Mustangs here this week. Thanks to everyone coming out and joining us once again here at Ozona Grill and Bar. We'll see you back here next Monday night for Hilltop Hoops.
This has been the Hilltop Hoop Show with head coaches Andy Enfield and Toyelle Wilson. Presented by the SMU Cox School of Business and broadcasted live from Ozona Grill and Bar on the Mustangs Sports Network from Learfield.